Start. Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, this bill is replacing one of the oldest acts prevailing in this country. The Indian Vessels Act was passed in 1917. Now, this act is more than 100 years old. During the last century, many things have changed, so it is necessary that there should be a new act in its place. Therefore, it is appropriate that this government has brought this bill. Sir, transportation of cargo through sea is not a new thing. It is a very old thing. In the olden days, it was mostly through sea route. Sir, I take the example of my own state, Odisha. There was a time when Odisha was very rich in trade and traders. The businessmen of Odisha used to export textiles, food grains, and so many things through ships from Odisha to different countries. They brought so much fortune to Odisha during those days. So it is not a new thing. Unfortunately, now our habit of transportation of cargo through sea route or through waterways has been limited. I am astonished to know that hardly we use this sea route for cargo transportation. I think it is less than 1% of the total cargo business. Therefore, sir, we should give much emphasis on this because when we do cargo transportation through sea route or waterways, we pollute less and oil consumption is also less, which is beneficial for the country. One question arises that when the state government under the earlier act was authorized to frame the needful rules and control the shipping, why everything has been centralized? I was also under this misconception, but after going through the bill, my mind is very clear. Now, under this act also, not many things have been centralized. The state governments will be making their own rules and implementing them on ground. Therefore, there is nothing wrong in the bill. As I said, sir, less than 1% of the total traffic in India is through inland waterways, though in the United States 21% is through sea route or inland waterways. Therefore, we should try as far as possible to use our waterways because all our road transport is congested, all our air transport is congested. Therefore, I welcome this bill. One or two very good provisions are there in this bill. I will cite only one example regarding penalty. One good provision in this bill is that if a vessel master abstains from rendering assistance to a nearby ship in distress, under the distress clause he will be penalized with a fine of rupees 10,000. The provisions in the bill are very welcome. So this bill is informative. This bill is very bold and is a game changer to the present law, the Inland Vessels Act of 1917. Sir, I rise to support the Inland Vessels Bill 2021. The bill replaces one of the oldest acts, that is the Inland Vessels Act 1917. The country has so many rivers and canals. As per the government records, a total of 4,000 kilometers of inland waterways have been operationalized so far. After 72 years of independence, we are unable to utilize inland waterways. Around 111 waterways have been declared as the national waterways as per the National Waterways Act. The inland water transport in the country is a fuel efficient and eco-friendly mode, moving around 55 million tons of cargo. However, the inland waterways transport in India is highly underutilized as compared to the developed countries. Particularly, I wanted to say that this bill is a unified law for the entire country instead of having separate rules and regulations framed by the states. But the entire control is in the hands of the center. There is no role for the states. I request the government of India that there should be some role for the states also because there are a lot of waterways in the states. I want to make another point. The operational inland waterways transporters are limited in Godavari and Krishna rivers. I request the government of India to develop more waterways in Telangana. Sir, the original Indian Vessels Act empowers the state governments to frame rules on their own. Now the proposed legislation intends to bring uniformity in this provision in the respective states so as to promote economic and safe transportation and trade through inland waters and protect the interests and needs of the stakeholders. Further, the state governments are being entrusted with the power and responsibility to implement the provisions of the proposed legislation in accordance with the standards and measures as may be provided by rules by the central government. Sir, you want uniformity in the rules and regulations to promote trade and safe transport in the inland waters. At the same time, the provision empowers the central government to provide uniformly the applicable standards for seamless and safe navigation of inland vessels by rules. Sir, we represent regional parties. We are always fighting for more powers for the states, but this bill intends to take away the powers of the state governments. That is the only objection. I have no objection with regard to the intention of the bill that you want uniformity and everything. But if in the name of uniformity you are taking away the powers of the state governments, then our federal system will collapse. That is the only point that I wish to make. At the same time, I have a request to make to the Honorable Minister for Shipping. In Tamil Nadu, we have the Buckingham Canal. In British period, a lot of navigation used to take place and a lot of cargo used to be moved to many places. But at the present time, this canal is not being fully utilized. It is polluted now. Therefore, I request the Honorable Minister to please take interest to develop this canal and promote inland transportation. In order to develop trade and commerce in Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, this connectivity is very important. Once again, I request the Minister to take action in this regard. Sir, this bill will have huge implications for our state and we hope it positively enables the inland waterways in our state. The bill will regulate safety, security and registration of inland vessels. It is also hoping to build a central database with the registration of details of vessels and crew on an electronic portal. With this, it aims to bring uniformity in application of law relating to inland waterways and navigation within the country. The certificate of registration granted under the proposed law will be deemed to be valid in all the states and the union territories, and there will be no need to seek separate permission from states. We hope that this provision has been enacted with due regard to jurisdiction of states and in consultation with the line departments of the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. Any loss of revenue must also be compensated for the first 5 years by the central government to respective states. It has expanded the definition of inland vessels, which now includes both mechanical and non-mechanical inland vessels with an exception for fishing vessels. In the same vein, it enlarges the definition of inland waters by including tidal water limit and national waterways. Constitutionally, inland waterways is a state subject, but shipping and navigation on inland waterways, which are declared by the Parliament as national waterways, come under the Union list. Additionally, mechanical vessels are under the Union list, but the state reserves the right to regulate all non-mechanical vessels and all taxes on inland waterways accrued to the state. State government under the bill will be responsible for registering non-mechanically propelled vessels which were earlier not included in the regulations under the old act. These can be enrolled at the district level. The state government has also been asked to appoint officers to act as surveyors of inland vessels according to the criteria and qualifications outlined by the central government. The state government is empowered to appoint designated authorities within their own jurisdiction. The authority would also deal with pollution control measures of plying inland vessels, and the central government has to designate a list of chemicals, substances, etc. Its efforts are in the right direction. We always support this kind of initiative. As per the new bill, vessels will discharge or dispose sewage as per the standards specified by the central government. The central government will notify the list of pollutants which will be prohibited for discharge or disposal. In respect of the powers of the state government, it appears that it is interfering with the powers of the state government. It is a federal structure. the powers of the state government have also to be considered, re-looked into, and necessary amendments made in the bill to confer the powers in respect to the state governments where the respective vessels and businesses are going on. The bill also states that the state governments are duty bound to implement all the provisions of the central enactments. Therefore, this is nothing but interfering with the administration of the state government and the federal structure. I request the Honorable Minister to consider and make necessary amendments in this bill in this regard.